Got to be careful.
Thought we supposed to have love and care for all our people.
Right. Read on.
Verse 14. But if you have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, glory not and lie not against the truth.
Because having bitter envy and strife in your heart and your mind, that's nothing to glory over. That's nothing to be proud over right there. That's a sickness. And you need to be healed from that. All right, read on.
This wisdom descendeth not from above, but is earthly, sensual, and devilish.
This is not something that's spiritual. This is something that's earthly. This is something that is worldly. All right, and we got to purge our spirits from that. Okay, read on.
For where envying and strife is, there is confusion in every evil work.
Right, and that's really what I was talking about earlier, is that you can understand where the wisdom comes from. You can understand if somebody has wisdom, if they're studying, if they're applying what they're reading based off of how they talk, based off of how they act. You can see it. Before you speak, before you say something, you got to think about that thing. Okay, is this profitable to the people? Is this going to be edifying to the people, or am I going to be doing more damage or more hurt than good? You got to think about those things. All right. Matthew chapter 12, verse. Go ahead.
Hot topic.
I got to throw this quick piece in here. What the elders been going over as far as a soft answer and just the spirit of thinking before you speak is very important. And this all goes into really the law and how we deal with each other in a civilized way. That there should be a moral and civil code that we have as a nation in terms of how we receive one another. And I think that that's clear. At the same time, I think there's another side of that coin. We live in a world that's very politically correct. We live in a world that thrives off of cancel culture. And we live in a world where, anything that you say can and will be used against you, in the court of law. And, this creates problems because we live in a world where everybody gets a trophy. So, if you find yourself in a marriage or, a parent-child relationship or a congregation or your workplace, a sports team, any environment where there are two or more people, and those two or more people are having to work together towards a common goal, inevitably, there's going to be certain things that the other person needs to be held accountable on to get to the next level, and vice versa. If we operate in the spirit of, oh, well, you know what, I just can't say this because, everybody gets a trophy, so I can't acknowledge, this fault or this error, that's going to be very detrimental to us building as a nation, and we ought not to use the softness as a card just because someone is telling us the truth about ourselves that we know in our heart of hearts to be true, right. But because of the fact that we're so soft and so sensitive, we don't want to hear it. I always say this. If you don't want to hear something, why don't you do it so nobody else has to say it? If we're playing on a basketball team and the last 10 shots you put up, 8 of them are air balls, why do I have to then come and be like, yo, bruh, you've been airballing. Sit on the bench, bruh. You know what I mean? Not everybody's the star. Why do I then have to become the bad guy because I'm acknowledging that not everybody's the star? We're looking at the scoreboard. We're down by 50 freaking points. Right. We're going to lose. And when you look at a lot of these sports documentaries amongst teams, they'll always show, whenever these teams were actually trying to get to the championship, there were some hard discussions that needed to be had amongst the players whether it be in the locker room or during the game, to say, yo, here's what we got to get. I say all that to say, Israel, and I mean this very honestly and very sincerely, and I'm going to wrap up after this. One of my personal struggles as a brother in Israel is, I like to be focused on growth and progress, but I don't always feel like the same growth or improvement that I know that I'm on, I can actually impart that to somebody else. And that bothers me, because if my brother or sister is hurting and they're stagnant, I want them to grow the same way that others are growing. But if they cannot be told anything because, any little thing you say is going to be an issue, then what do you do? And we're going to hurt each other in that manner if there cannot be any honest conversation. I mean, my mic.
All praises. Yep. I'm glad you said that. And, that's something that that I was going to say as well, because there's a balance, right? It's not just that, okay, you speak this so softly every single time. There's always balance in the scriptures. Jude 1, 22 and 23 talks about, some you have compassion, making a difference. Right. And then there's others you say with fear, pulling them out the fire. There's some people that, like people that know me, everybody in this room know, if you tell me that I did something wrong, you don't have to yell at me. You could just say, yo, you did this, this, and this. I'm going to be like, okay, bet. I'm going to change, right? But other people aren't like that. Other people, you almost want to Nehemiah them and put hands on them, because of their rebelliousness, because they don't see that they're actually hurting themselves and hurting the nation rather than helping. Some people, you have to light a fire under them like that. So there is that balance between the two. So I'm glad that you brought that up. All praises. Let's go to Matthew chapter 12, verse 34.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 12, verse 34. O generation of vipers, how can ye, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh.
So this is going back right with what was said in James. You can't have, a fountain that's bringing forth sweet water as well as bitter at the same time. How can you claim to be good, but you're speaking evil? It's not possible, okay? Because what's in your mind, what's in your heart, that's what's going to come out of your mouth. All right, read.
A good man out of the good treasure of the heart bringeth forth good things.
So if you're a good man, then good things are going to come out of your mouth. Read.
And an evil man out of the evil treasure bringeth forth evil things.
Likewise the evil man. Read.
But I say unto you, that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment.
So that's why we're saying it's very important for you to think about what's being said prior to it coming out of your mouth, because every word that you speak, every word that somebody hears is going to affect them in a certain way, whether it's positive or negative. So every word that you speak you're going to have to give account of it in the day of judgment. Christ is going to hold you accountable. And he's going to say, remember you said this, this, and this. Mm-hmm. Remember you treated this person this way, and this way. I never knew you. Depart from me.
And when it talks about that good treasure, those are the things stored away in your mind. Mm-hmm. So like you went over way in the beginning of the class, people have gone through multiple days of atonement, but they're holding on to something. Instead of replacing that evil thought with something positive about that person, let me think about a good memory. Let me think about the good times we've had. Let me think about a person's good characteristics. So that once that's stored in your mind and you do have to speak to somebody, that's the first thing comes to your mind, rather than I keep harping on the fact when this person lied to me or when they stole from me. So then when we had that conversation, I'm calling them a thief and all kind of crazy stuff, and I'm offending them because that was the treasure I stored in my mind.
Exactly. Once again, don't let your emotions and your feelings dictate how you act, how you move. It's okay to feel a certain way, but don't let that be, make that how you react to certain people. Don't let that happen. All right, read on. 37.
Verse 37. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned.
So you got to choose a side. You got to choose a side. Which the tongue is a weapon, as we said. But how are you going to use it? Are you going to use it for good so that you be justified in your sayings because you're speaking and behaving in the way the scriptures command you to? Or are you going to be condemned based off of the words that you speak? It's completely up to you. All right. So with that being said, that's the end of the class. All praise to the Most High. I hope y'all got something from it.